back in the news again since we've gotten Stefano Domenicali's statements that were made this week. We're already back talking about Andretti's bid into F1.
Nicole, do you know what that means?
What does that mean?
Welcome, one and all, to the first edition of F1's Battle at the F1 Ring. This is the first battle of the 2023 season. You could be anywhere in the world today, but you are here at the Gridwalk Arena! And for that, we thank you. Today we believe it's going to be a particularly entertaining fight. We have 4 competing parties, all with different rooting interests. They will get introductions by me, your announcer, and then an opportunity for an opening statement. We will let you know who is giving that opening statement, and Nicole is going to be cosplaying. In the first quarter, the challenger, Andretti Automotive! Led by the 1991 IndyCar champion Michael Andretti and his father Mario, the 78 F1 World Champion and 4-time IndyCar champ. They are here challenging for a spot on the F1 grid as a new team. After failing to impress F1 for the last 12 months, Andretti have partnered up with General Motors for a flashy, glorified sponsorship deal. Via their Chevy brand, GM is actively involved in most American racing series. Andretti is hoping that this will push them over the edge into joining the F1 grid as soon as next year. Andretti, would you like to give your opening statements?
Good morning, everyone. If you're in America, everywhere else in the world, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be. My name is Michael Andretti, and I'm here to talk to you about why you should be so excited about us entering the grid. My father and I have a long history in racing. We have a really strong presence, and we really see it as an honor to be joining the 10 teams already currently on the grid. We have a fantastic, beautiful partnership with GM. We as an American team want to join with an American company that has a strong brand and tradition, just like the Andretti family and racing. We guarantee that we will be bringing so much success and great positive press to Formula One, and we're not just throwing money. I promise we'll be so much more than just a bank flow to a team of some sort. And just see the growing, excited American fan base to have another American team on the grid. Just search us on Twitter. You'll see all of the exciting people saying great things about how we want Andretti on the grid. And of course, more teams mean more drivers. And who doesn't want more drivers on the grid? I'm only seeing positives here. We would be honored if they had us, and we're ready to dive in with GM at our side.
Well, that was more polite than most of their statements have been so far. Directly to their right, supporting the Andretti bid, also in the ring, the FIA! Led by President Mohammed bin Sulayem, their notable contributions to the sport of F1 in the last 12 months are attempting to silence the drivers as much as possible and allowing a recovery tractor on track in low visibility conditions, the exact same thing that killed a driver at that exact same track. Their claim to fame recently has been their inability to read and follow the rulebook they wrote. Recently, the FIA president has learned the power of a tweet in creating headlines he seemed to like doing all off-season. He has been told to stop and has agreed to leave the day-to-day operations to the rest of the FIA team in hopes of keeping his job. FIA, you have clearly not sent Mohammed bin Sulayem for your opening statements, but you may still give some. Why do you support Andretti?
Hello, everyone. We are so excited here to be talking about one of the most flourishing aspects of motorsports, Formula One, and a fantastic opportunity to welcome an American icon to the grid. And we're only seeing benefits here. This can only bring positive things. And of course, we're always looking out for what's best for every single athlete, every single party involved in our sports. We're always making sure that we're doing what's best for their success, for their profitability, and just making sure that everything stays very lucrative and successful.
To the left of the challengers and their supporters, we have Formula One Management, also known as FOM. The team put in place by Liberty Media to increase the financial value of F1 and its overall popularity. They gave us races such as Miami and Vegas, to conflicting reports. And we'll see if people like it. Notably, they implemented a social media strategy that finally made their drivers celebrities and signed off on DTS, which most... Sorry. I think I'll keep the break in that. Woo. This is hard to do on my voice.
It's right, the mark is black.
The mark is black. Which most definitely increased the popularity of the sport around the globe. They're a bottom-line first corporation and tend to care more about the show instead of the sport. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali gave an interview to Sky Sports this week, which prompted this entire ring. He asked everyone... I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm breaking so much.
Because this is the most ridiculous, hysterical thing in the world, that's why.
He is quoted in saying that Andretti should probably refrain from saying bad things about the F1 teams because he needs their votes to get on the grid. Which I have to say, as the unbiased announcer, is not a bad point. Their most recent knockout punch in the F1 ring was successfully recruiting Audi to join F1 as an engine manufacturer for 2026. FOM, your opening statements.
Hello, everyone. Just bottom line, what we're here to talk about today is the absolute value, financially, across the board in many areas, of Formula One. And the addition of another team on the grid right now is putting that growth, the flourishment we have seen, completely at risk. We currently have 10 teams on the grid. We want 10 competitive teams on the grid, not just the top 2-3 teams fighting for their championship. Think about how incredible it would be for this sport overall if every team had a competitive edge in the sport. Adding another team to the grid right now when there are still teams suffering and trying to perform budget-wise and just performance of their vehicle. It is better to have less teams with higher quality. Then more people can get invested in the current sport. And if Andretti wants to join, there is a process and perfect example how Audi is coming in 2026 and coming in with a current established team, making a big purchase and not diluting the Formula One brand by adding an additional team to the grid.
The last group to join the F1 ring for this battle are the 10 teams. These 10 owners represent the 10 racing teams of F1 who are all attempting to create value for their stockholders and maybe win a race. They're not looking to take a pay cut, but I will let you all know that this is not a unified group on the grid today. We have an 8-team voting block that seem to be against adding new teams to the grid, but we have 2 teams who have gone rogue. We will allow for the 8 teams to make an opening statement, as well as hear from McLaren and Alpine on their divided opinions. You may now make your opening statement.
Hello, we are the 8 teams that do not want Andretti to be joining in this fashion. We believe that there's a great process, and we firmly go with what FOM has already said. Hi everyone, my name is Zach Brown. I am very close to the Andretti family, as you have seen Mario Andretti featured in our launch most recently, but he's my friend, and I just really think it'll be a great American face in addition to Formula One.
It must be noted that even though Zach Brown is saying that publicly, he tends to vote with the aforementioned 8 teams. Alpine, you are up.
Look at more teams. There's going to be more money. More teams, more money. That it has to be exactly what it means. And who knows? Maybe then they need an engine supplier. And like we know one. We're pretty great at that. Yeah, because GM, we're not worried about that. That's just that's all just money being thrown around. So we just see money coming into us and only positives over here. So we're all for it.
With tensions rising between the FIA and FOM, the FIA are looking for a win versus their rivals at Liberty, and all parties are looking to increase their financial outcomes and political power. Who will come out this battle a victor?
I didn't know if your sentence was over, so I didn't.
This is the most ridiculous segment that we do.
That's crazy.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
I gave the disclaimer at the beginning, but obviously Nicole gave opening statements for every single team and was trying to just be silly. So if anything ridiculous she says in that segment, just know, or anything ridiculous I say in that segment, that we're like playing roles.
Yeah. This is all fun of it.
Right. Because often we feel like F1 is a boxing ring, and they're all just throwing punches around. So, but it was a big week, with all the hard hitting quotes that Stefano gave in the Sky Sports interview, and so we thought it was time to bring in the F1 ring and have a little chat. How you feeling?
So, almost basically from start to finish of that Sky Sports interview, my jaw was on the floor. They went in with the questions that we've been screaming for someone to answer and address, and it was so direct and forward. But so disclaimer, my opinion, I'm very much in the belief of I want this sport to be lucrative and healthy. It's the sport that I've come to love, and I very much fall on the sides of, especially of the quotes of Toto and Christian recently, of we want the sport to be healthy and everyone to be successful. And hey, I would love to see Gunther in a team that's doing really well. So I think there are ways for outside parties to come in to improve the sport overall. And I don't think adding another team is the answer to that.
Or at least Andretti in particular. So obviously there are other teams we just haven't heard about. So I think the Andretti thing is interesting because they're being very public about it. And that is why Stefano in this interview on the nose said, maybe you shouldn't say bad things about people whose votes you need. Like, calling the F1 teams greedy to the press is not going to win you votes. I can't get over how dumb personally I think that is. So I think that's my problem with this entry. But I'm really with you in that I want to see good racing. I want to see as many competitive teams as possible. And Andretti hasn't proven to me that they're going to come on the grid and be competitive, because starting an F1 team from scratch is hard. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that most of the teams that join the grid have to buy out existing teams because they already have infrastructure and people hired. And Audi is investing in Sauber, not because they really like Sauber, but because it is a smart move to go into a program with established roots and try to be successful that way. So I want to get to a point where we're not entering the season like we are right now, where I have a list in my head of 7 teams that I know aren't going to win the championship, and a solid 3 or 4 teams that I think is highly likely they're going to just be back markers because of who they are. And then, we need to be in seasons where I think more than just Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull have a chance to win a championship, because that's boring. So adding another, Williams like last year, or another Haas, to your point about Gunther, by adding Andretti as a team that needs to take 5 years to establish itself doesn't sound exciting, even though there's more drivers. Like, cool, more drivers, more cars doesn't mean, like, I want more competitive, personally.
Yeah, I agree. And the public temper tantrum of it all just makes it a lot worse of like, I don't want you coming in this way. And with Muhammad's tweets of, oh, there's going to be a process. And I was like, what you don't have one? And just how it all unfolded, especially when we have now seen like the beginnings of Audi and even, Ford coming in just as like a monetary partnership, anything in that way. Like, we're seeing other companies come in a way that just seems to flow so much more, and not like them Kool-Aid Manning kicking down like a whole wall to be like, we're here and gonna really mess stuff up. Like, there's such ways to maintain the infrastructure for the betterment of the sport.
And I think an American team that actually embraces the fact that it's an American team, unlike Haas, would be exciting. I think the Andretti's is a great name. I think that would be exciting. But I'm not just going to blanketly take those two things, like most people I'm seeing, and be like, well, they're definitely going to be good for the sport. They've done nothing to prove to me they're going to be good to the sport. All they're doing is making noise. And I think you and I have a different perspective on this, because a lot of our business brain gets infected into all of this. And I broke while doing this, because it is baffling to me that in a scenario where you need all these people's votes and support to just flame them publicly as your strategy.
But we're Andretti. I'm Mario Andretti's son. Okay.
Clearly, they're getting bad advice. And that's what's mostly frustrating for me, because I want Andretti on the grid. But why are you getting such bad advice? And then they hitch their wagon to going about this via the FIA, which is now not looking great, considering how Stefano has taken control of the situation with the quotes this week. So I hope they end up on the grid. But prove to me that you're not just going to be a backmarker, because that's no fun. I don't want to see Colton Herta on the grid in a bad car. I want to see Colton Herta on the grid competing for wins.
Mm-hmm. Because then it's like, what's the point? Like, great. We have another team coming in that's not competitive and then breaking up the prize pool. Doesn't make sense. And it's more than money. Yes, the sport, you do need a lot of money, and so much of it is all about money, but you can't just come in with $200 million and win a championship.
Yeah. And people are sensitive to the elitism of F1, and I, in most cases, agree that F1 doesn't need to be as, like, stodgy and elite, and they can get some American flash in there, I think is good. But we aren't going to get fun American flash if they're just driving around in the back, getting lapped.
Thank you, voiceover man, the entire Mercedes team, for giving us hope for this upcoming season, and our four-legged executive producers. Everyone, please turn on auto downloads, rate and review the pod. You have no idea how much it helps us out. Hey, you listening on Apple Podcast. We're really hoping to get 5 reviews by the time we have lights out in Bahrain. So pretty please let us know what you love, what you'd like to see us do. We want to continue to improve our show. Make sure you follow us on every social media platform, whichever ones you prefer. We are at Gridwalk Show absolutely everywhere. You can join us for some daily grid walks. But we will be back every Thursday. And remember all the special bonus fun we have next week. We hope you join us. Whew, today was a grid run, for sure. Yes. Not a grid walk.